Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we're going to kind of do a mashup of the weekly meta breakdown for Standard Best of 3, but kind of tweak it in the sense that the Meathook Massacre was banned on Monday, only goes into effect on Thursday, and the Mythic Invitational Qualifier, for those who qualified, is this Saturday, meaning the patch will only go in Thursday afternoon, giving us a whopping day and a half to find a deck to play on Saturday's Standard Best of 3. So what I'm trying to do is put together some ideas of decks that potentially I would like to play for this qualifier, or just look at some decks other folks have used to success that do not feature the Meathook Massacre. Notably, I think go wide strategies obviously get a boost. However, I don't think Monoblock necessarily has been completely neutered, and we'll look at a couple deck lists here. So I'll paste these all in the video description if you do want to check out. Normally what we do is we look at untapped GG and get stats in terms of the best performing decks, but the meta is kind of skewed because Meathook, there's still players playing Meathook even though it's banned, so it makes it kind of hard to test as well at this point. So we'll jump into it. Two of the decks that I'm looking at off the start is Rakdos and Monoblock still. Part of the reason being I was going into the weekend with the anticipation of playing Monoblock. I'm familiar with the deck, so now I need to find a deck that I don't have time to test, and what can we play and kind of go from there. So this is a take on Rakdos that I would look to play, and it is basically a base block deck with splashes of red for a couple key cards. We've got Voltage Surge as well as Cut Down, and so 6 1-mana removal spells, flexible in terms of what they can hit, scalable as well, with Voltage Surge being able to deal up to 4 points of damage. We have Tenacious Underdog and Blood Tithe Harvester in this list. So Blood Tithe creates us a blood token, gives us a little bit more card filtering, can be removal itself, and gives us access to 7 2-mana 3-powered creatures. We have some Infernal Grasps in here, 3 of, 2 Bank Busters for card advantage main. And then we have, with red, basically, the main reason, to be honest, we're splashing red is Fable the Mirror Breaker. They didn't ban it, so it's the best card in Standard. Helps filter out our draws, gives us a whole bunch of value, and if it goes unchecked, it could take over the game. So we're playing 4 of those. The treasure tokens also work nice with Voltage Surge. I'm playing 1 Soul Transfer. This version here, we do still have the enchantment in Fable the Mirror Breaker, as well as Bank Buster and incidental tokens, so we can get both modes. In Mono Black, you'll see, because you're not playing enchantments, I'm trying out Hero's Downfall because it gives you an instant speed answer, a little bit better in some matchups like Mono Blue where you get to play on their turn. They try to phase something out. If it gets phased out on their turn, for example, or if they counter it, you make them tap mana on their turn. Full 4 Graveyard Trespassers and then 2 Lilianas. Going into the weekend, Liliana might be the card to cut out of the deck. It's really dependent on what you expect to run into, meaning if we are getting a lot of these go-wide strategies, stuff that Meathook was able to suppress, Liliana's minus doesn't get as effective, but want to give it a shot still. It's still a very powerful card. 1 Sorin for card advantage main. Just also a flying lifelinker also helps. You don't have Meathook, so you need ways to gain life. And then 2 Shieldreds, just very powerful cards, so playing 2 of those, and then still with the 4 Invoke Despairs. I think this is the best over-the-top card you could be playing right now, and answers a lot of threats. Slightly worse if you're expecting more wedding announcements, but at the very least it deals with the token and the announcement, and potentially draws you a card if they don't have a Planeswalker. The mana base is fairly straightforward. We're playing the Haunted Ridges, and then Channel Lands, mostly black lands. We got some Sulphur Springs, and then 3 Ziatoras, just as additional dual lands. Sideboard-wise, we got couple of inclusions, Torch Breath for the Mono Blue matchup, also scalable, just dealing damage. Duress for hand hate, a Braid for like if you run into Anvil or just for general artifact or creature removal. Another Bank Buster for grindy matchups, Hearse for graveyard decks, Rending Flame for Shieldred or bigger things. Another copy of Soul Transfer for like a Planeswalkery or when you need exile. A couple copies of Omnixus for the grindier matchups, or even Mono Blue, I was thinking, just as another way to get 2 spells out of it. Hitazuku is kind of my thought. I want to try it out against token decks. It deals with all those tokens potentially, or like weenie style strategies. Sorin for grind, and then Burn Down the House as a catch-all removal. Burn Down's a little annoying because it hits all our key stuff. You can't like Meathook for 4 and keep a Shieldred around. But that's kind of the thoughts there. I built this one shell, so I'm going to go a little bit more detail. Similarly with Monoblock, I do a big detailed walkthrough here, but just more targeted removal. So we went up the cut downs. I'm kind of on the fence with March of the Wretched Soar, if this should just be a Concealing Curtains. You got the Infernal Grasps, since they hit pretty much everything. Evolved Sleepers, this one's a little bit more slanted as an aggressive deck. So 1, 2 into Tenacious Underdog, 3 into Trespasser is ideal. I got some a Hero's Downfall, like I mentioned, try that out. Some Sorens, Sheoldred on the top end with Invoke Despairs, and then 2 Lilianas. Mana base, the only thing that you see other than Swamps and Takanuma is Mech Hanger. Thought here is it's just useful. I was playing Roadside Reliquary, but we don't have enchantments now, so it's not as good. This is just a way in the grindy matchups when you're bringing in your vehicles that you can just animate them without creatures. Sideboard, like Duress, Hearse, Bankbuster, like we mentioned. Parasitic Grasp is another removal spell. A lot of the tokens and a lot of the Bant style creatures are humans, so just gain you life like that. Malicious Affliction versus the Go Wide strategies as removal and exile. A Soul Transfer when we need the exile effect. Another Liliana for the grindy matchups. Soren for the grindy matchups. And Junji is really good into like these black base decks that don't have exile. It just brings you back a card from your graveyard, so it replaces itself. So going to look at Untapped GG, we have a Mardu Angels list in best of 3 that's had 120 games sample, platinum to mythic, 64%. This is Saffron Olive's list, I believe. It's just kind of an Angel Mardu pile, so you got like Giada, Inspiring Overseer, Angel of Wrath, Sarah Paragon, Liaison, Sanctuary Warden, some removal scattered in, and then just jamming Fable and Wedding Announcement in there. Sideboard wise, you got like more removal, some hand hate, some grind, and just like various types of removal. I always kind of find it funny that Farewell in a deck that's playing 22 creatures just kill everything you have, but it is a board reset. I don't love it in these creature strategies, but could be useful at times. We have Bant Midrange. So this is a deck that's not got the best win rate right now, but I think it does get better with Meathook gone. You're going to see less go wide board sweepers, so having stuff like Wedding Announcements, this shell's pretty good. You're going top out with Storm the Festival, and then you could Storm the Festival into like Grafted Identity. You got a whole bunch of Planeswalkers for value and grind. Mana Ramp with like Catilda. These are humans as well, so it works. Denic, Anointed Peacekeeper, kind of taxing effects in there as well. Wandering Emperor, very powerful in the shell. AO's good attacking into Emperors and is good top end threat. Sideboard wise, you got like removal counters for like the bigger like grindier decks, like Invoke decks, stuff like that. I guess when you just need to go bigger in like a creature mirror, Graveyard Hate, tax, card advantage, wandering, or just like value grind and then grind, I would say. Then looking at MTG Arena Zone, these are some folks that have finished fairly high in Mythic this month, or just over the course of the month. So this is by Divmet. It's a Esper Midrange deck, 135 Mythic. So this version here is kind of a human-y-esque tribal version. So you're basically playing Esper for Rafine as kind of the powerful engine. You also have some like Obscura Interceptors to counter stuff. Sorry for all the ads, but it's annoying, but there's not too much data. I'm just trying to find deck lists at this point, but it's kind of more of an aggressively slanted Esper deck. Sarah Paragon can buy stuff. You got a mix of removal options between the 5 cards you see here. Vortex, Cut Down, Faithful Absence, Infernal Grasp, Destroy Evil all mixed in there. Brutal Cathar removal as well. Sheoldred kind of as the top end. Really just the Adeline Rafine engine. Just really powerful 3-drops kind of go to town. Wandering Emperor for kind of the when you need exile, mono blue, it's pretty decent play on their turn. You got some taxing effects, some more interceptors, so you can kind of shift into like a flash control deck, even with like Urtai mixed into there for like the when you need some life and removal. You got Archangel of Wrath for the more aggressive decks, and then just a scattering and more interaction and removal depending on the matchup. We then go to a Jund aggro list by Kazuki, number 144 Mythic. So this is a base green, splash red black deck. Just playing a bunch of big chunky creatures that get bigger. Ascendant Pack Leader scales. Beast Caller gets bigger with more creatures. Galagreeter gets bigger when you cast more creatures. Loam Speaker for mana fixing, as well as turning lands into hasty threats. Jewel Thief is decent body, 3 mana, 3/3, Vigilance Trample, and helps you ramp up to your bigger stuff. Graveyard Hate and kind of cost reduction. Mana Sink, Trample, so just big bodies with evasion of some sort. Alana works nicely with some trample threats. You got Defiler on the top end as well, so just making really chunky things. Removal in Infernal Grasp and Terra Sunder. Ren for kind of tokens and card advantage. Vivian of the Hunt, we've never really seen this card played much, but lets you tutor for things, gets you some card advantage, and makes some rhinos kind of mixed into there. You see the mana base here. And then your sideboard, just like more grind effects for the removal style decks. You have Green Widow that could keep coming back, life gain and kind of heavy removal decks, protection, then just a scattering of removal spells and Graveyard Hate. Then we have 5-Color Domain by Ben Levitt, 110 Mythic. So this is a 5-color deck playing a lot of the Triome style effects here that you see. Just kind of hitting all your colors, taking advantage of domain enablers for Green Widow to come back from the graveyard repeatedly, Herd Migration to get a bunch of tokens, Leyline and Binding to be really cheap, Drag becomes like one of the premier sweepers with Farewell. This one can scale fairly well with all the colors of mana. Get to play Kami War, some Unleash the Infernos, Shadow Prophecy, can be look at top 5, put 2 into hand kind of value. So a lot of useful cards there. Then just some situational creatures, handful of counters, removal, hand hate, kind of mixed in there as well. This is one I'd probably try out. I'm usually a little hesitant to play more than 2 colors in these tournaments, at least on the weekend. Just, you draw the wrong Triome, a land comes to play tapped. I'd rather, there's enough variance in those tournaments than high skill players usually making it through. So you want to have at least minimize your variance as much as possible by going to 1 to 2 colors, I find. And the last one by Boros Paragon by Schlapp, 233 Mythic, but I know I've seen it a couple times on Twitter. They've got pretty high up in best of 1 and best 3 with this. It's a cool deck. I actually lost to either them or someone playing this deck, but it's kind of built around Sarah Paragon value. So you're doing things like Riveteer's Requisitioner, can be blitzed, get some value to draw cards, gets you treasure when it dies. Companion draws you cards, so you have like 8 2-drops that can draw you cards and ramp you. Fable and Wedding Announcement, playing both of these in a deck is good. AO is really powerful. Paragon can buy these back. You got some Emperors. The Citizen's Crowbar is another useful card here. Kind of odd. So it's a 2-mana spell that creates a token and gives you an effect to destroy artifact or enchantment for a mana, which is actually pretty useful if you look at Wedding Announcements, Fables, just so many incidental going around. Everybody's on like Bankbusters and stuff in the main. So this can be rebought with Paragons and Destroy Evils mixed in there as well. You'll see Cabaretti Courtyard as basically ideally a turn 1 play. You can keep getting back the lands with Sarah Paragon. Then you have like Jaya for the grindier matchups, life gain when you need to go against like aggressive decks, so a mix of removal spells as well as some Unlicensed Hearse. I'd probably tweak like some of these numbers, probably like 2 of these and play like 2 Fateful Absence, just as a catch-all removal probably. Also hits Planeswalkers. This hits Planeswalkers, but it's pretty mana intensive, so you just want to be mindful of that. So that's pretty much it for the week. Like I said, right now I'm actually just deciding between these 2 just from comfort level. If I had more time to test, I would probably try out this Boros list. I just like the cards and kind of the gameplay strategy of it as well. I don't know how good this is, but it seems like it's going to be a lot of fun, so I'll probably play this on stream later. But let me know what you're thinking about playing, if you are playing it, or how you're going to kind of approach the post-Meathook meta. In any case, thanks for watching. Hope you had a great one. If you can, drop a like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks. Stay safe.